All right, testing 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna clap to make sure that the audio and the video are synced. All right, I think we should be good. Well, Happy New Year, everybody. This year, 2025. I would have been making this video last year, but I wanted to make sure that I had the best audio quality, unlike my previous video, my first video. So I got a microphone. But welcome back to the channel. My name is RG Latino, and today I wanted to really go and talk about my top 5 games of 2024. Now, I think a lot of people were not expecting 2024 to have as many bangers of video games as it did, because 2023 really had I'm talking about a shit ton of really good games. And I think we were just all expecting that 2024 was going to be a soft landing, It was going to be something not as memorable in video games, 2025, maybe even 2026 was going to be when we really started talking about video games and all the games that came out, like the bangers that came out. But 2024 had a plethora of good games, and I think a lot of us were really surprised about that. So I wanted to go and give my thoughts on those video games because, like I said, there was great games. And even though I've talked about I've already shared a little bit of my thoughts on my streams and on my previous video, I don't think I've really gone in depth on why I really, really, really liked some of these games that I played in 2024. So that's what this video is for. So without further ado, let's start with my top 5 list. So for number 5, I'm actually putting Helldivers 2 in particular. So Helldivers 2, I remember when this game first came out, and it immediately took over the video game discourse for a solid 2 to 3 months, I believe. I remember seeing the trailer for Helldivers 2 not last year, 2023, and it was so crazy to think that, because on my head, I thought this game was not going to land as well as it actually did. I thought, okay, this is a cool game that I definitely will probably come around to checking out at some point. I think whenever I have some more time, I'll go back and check it out, especially because I think around that time, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was coming out, so I was like, I'm not playing that game. I'm playing something else. But then all my friends started talking about it, and they're all like, yo, you have to hop on because it is so fucking good. And I was like, really? This game is that good? And sure enough, I started playing this game, and I was blown away. Helldivers 2 was some of the most fun that I had last year, playing a game last year. I haven't played a game and been so involved in a gaming community in a long time. I'm pretty sure the last time I was super involved in a gaming community like that, where I was constantly checking for updates, constantly checking in with my friends and seeing, yo, what's going on, what's happening, are we going to be playing tonight, all that stuff, was probably around when Apex Legends came out. And I was in college around that time, so that was years ago. But I started playing Helldivers 2 with my friends, and I remember we would stay up until 2, 3 in the morning, just going in, playing, completing these major orders, and just goofing off, having a great time completing these objectives and stuff. Helldivers 2 was just something that I wasn't personally expecting. I don't think anybody else was personally expecting would be like such a big hit, but the amount of things that this game allowed you to do, and just honestly was just for anybody to have fun. This game was just, mainly for having fun. And so this game, with its combat and the stratagems that you're able to use, is something super incredible. Like, I remember first calling in my first stratagem and immediately being like, yo, what is this? And then fucking dying because it fucking blew me up or something like that. And I was just like, whoa, what the hell? And I remember having so many good videos with my friends, clips with my friends where we're just fucking absolutely getting annihilated by the Terminids or the automatons and stuff like that, and we're just like, oh my god. I love those memes where people are talking about how in dire situations in video games, people will literally become the most insane, intense voice actors of all time.
Lawman, get down!
Hang on! 500-pounder going in on that SOB! Back up from it, 8 more!
They got me surrounded! They got me surrounded!
We're moving, let's go! I hate the democracy!
Ah!
And that's pretty much what happened all the time when we were playing, when I was playing with my friends. So Helldivers 2, is a live service game that basically disguises its live service aspects behind a huge war and a whole war map. And that's something that is, at first I was really skeptical about, just because live service games have not really been doing good. Concord. But Helldivers 2 with its live service aspects actually hooked me really, really, it hooked me. So, that game with its live service features, it really hooked me. And being able to play with my friends and be able to just cause so much fucking chaos within that game was just something that we hadn't really experienced in a long time in video games. And I was so happy that we were able to get that experience once again, because it was so much fun. I may have dropped off probably around the 3 or 4 month mark, because at that point I was really, really going into some other games. But Helldivers 2 absolutely deserves to be on that top 5 list of my personal video games, because of how much enjoyment I got from it and how much I enjoyed playing with my friends. It was just such a great and what I needed at that time. A game that I needed at the time, to really come back and connect with my friends and play with them again. So that's my top 5, or that's my number 5 pick for my top 5 list. So let's move on. Sorry, I'm looking up to see where my top 5 list is, because I totally forgot. All right. So my number 4 on my top 5 list is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Now, I didn't play Final Fantasy VII growing up. I think that was around the PlayStation 1 era, and at that time I was probably 6 or something like that. So I definitely was not playing some Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Yo boy was out here playing the fucking Winnie the Pooh Monopoly type of game when he was 6, and Crash Bandicoot. So I didn't really know anything about Final Fantasy VII when it first dropped. But when the remake was announced, I was really excited about it because I was like, I've heard so much great things about Final Fantasy VII, and I really, really want to sit down and like experience the story for the first time. And with the remake, that was the perfect opportunity at that point to really come back and play that game and play it for the story. Obviously, for the remake, there's some differences and changes that were made for this remake, and the same for Rebirth. But I played Remake and I was hooked immediately. I was like, I love the story, I love the characters, and I love the combat. The combat in that game is so good. So Rebirth, when it was announced, I was 100% I am playing this day one, and sure enough, I did get it on day one. So but Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is essentially taking what was already established on Remake, especially with the combat, and just expanding it even more. So now, instead of having just one area that you're exploring, which was Midgard, now you have a whole entire world where you're just exploring this. Excuse me, had to burp. But Final Fantasy VII Rebirth just expands on what Remake had already established. The combat was expanded even more. The map was expanded. We get more on the characters' backgrounds and more of their story and stuff. You know, we get a lot more from Rebirth than what we did in Remake. And, you know, it was so good. I came to really love more like these characters, you know, Tifa, Aerith, Barrett, Cloud. All these characters are fleshed out way more. Red 13, he's fleshed out even more in this game, and we get to meet some new characters like Vincent and Kate Sith. Even though I'm sad that Vincent isn't playable in this game, but Kate Sith is, which he's a really cool character. I loved exploring, you know, their stories and really getting to see more about what is driving them to, you know, be a part of this cause. Especially, like, I loved hearing the story about Barrett and, like, how he lost his arm, how he came to essentially adopt Marlene, his daughter, and, you know, hearing that story and seeing the outcome of it later on when you play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was something that was like super touching, and I was not expecting to be, you know, as impactful as it was. So I was really intrigued and wanted to continue more. And then, you know, the combat of it is just fleshed out even more. I love the basically, like, what is it? I think the synergy abilities that you can have with like the team up abilities that you can do with your other teammates, and, you know, just expanding on that even more, I thought was so fucking dope. It was so cool. Was refreshing from what we already had established from Remake and stuff. And yeah, one thing though, I will say, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth kind of goes a little bit too long. Like, I think around the 12th, 13th, 11th chapter or so, we start kind of slowing down a bit. And as much as I really liked, you know, the story, those chapters just feel like filler chapters, and kind of brings the pacing down to like a halt a little bit, which, you know, sometimes that happens with stories, you know, and I think they really just wanted to flesh out and make it to where you can do more within this game. But sometimes you don't really need to do all that, and I really think that Square Enix could have, you know, benefited from making Final Fantasy VII Rebirth maybe a little bit shorter, you know, cutting, you know, some of that fat that was within those chapters, cutting out some of those filler moments, and really just like keep the story going, keep it pushing, And yeah, that way, you know, the pacing isn't like all of a sudden coming to a halt and you have to like go through these filler moments so then you can continue with the story and stuff. But overall, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was one of the games that I really put like a lot of hours into, and I'm so glad that I was able to go through and play this you know, the second installment of this game, and I'm really looking forward to see what they do with the third game, especially because I want to know what the fuck is going on with Zack and that ending, you know, like what's happening with that. So I'm sure the third game will finally go into more detail on that. But you know, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, number 4 pick, really good. The third pick on my list is a little card game that I was not expecting to like as much, and its name is Balatro. Balatro is an indie game, is an indie game that is developed by one person, which shout out to indie developers who literally create everything on their own. Like, I'm talking about the music, the art, the gameplay, like everything about their game. It's all one person. Those people are like crazy, but dude, I know you get a lot of satisfaction when your game blows up. I know that, like, when people are actually enjoying the fuck out of their game. So, and Balatro, like I said, developed by one person, was a game that I was not honestly expecting to really like as much. But when I started playing it, oh boy, did I get fucking addicted, dude. So basically, Balatro is a poker style, like it's a card roguelike. And this game is all about making big number go up and, you know, multiplying all of that so then your number go up even more. It is a really simple game where you're just playing poker hands and stuff, and just trying to get like the highest score and beat the score of, you know, the computer opponent. But the way that game just really allows you to exploit like so many of those abilities that you can get from jokers, from cards that you have in your hand and stuff. Like, it really lets you go buck wild with like multiple combinations that you can use for this game, and it is super fucking impressive. Like, basically this game is built on just like if statements, which is super fucking nerdy of me to fucking mention, but if statements basically just saying, if something happens, it's a condition. If something happens, then do this. If not, you know, keep doing that. That's some coding shit. Sorry.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
But anyways, this game is really cool, really addicting. If you like these kind of card roguelike games, like, I know another really popular one that's out there that I really enjoyed too was Inscription. If you really like those type of games, I think you will have a blast with Balatro. Balatro is just something that you can 100% sit down, play for a long ass time, and really just like get sucked into it. And that's basically what happened to me. I need to fucking do better though, because I fucking hate that I'm still only using 2 pairs. I'm a fucking noob, dude. 2 pairs to really get to like the final boss and shit like that. I need to be like learning how to exploit the fucking straights, the flushes, and be getting better jokers, because bro, those jokers, my favorite jokers, dude, they're all for straights and flushes, and I only have experienced one run where I was able to do that, and that shit was crazy. But anyways, yeah, number 3, Balatro. for my second pick on my list is Astro Bot. Astro Bot is a game that honestly just kind of feels like, I mean, it is, but definitely just felt like it was going to be a PlayStation like 5 ad and that's it. But you know, when that game came out, and maybe that's just my personal opinion just because I never played Astro's Playroom or the VR game that came out, but I was totally expecting it to just be like, you know, a huge ad for PlayStation, you know, something that I wasn't really going to get invested into. But then that's not what happened. I bought Astro Bot and I felt like a little kid again, playing, you know, Mario on my Game Boy, on playing Crash Bandicoot, like just really enjoying those type of platformers, you know. And it was something that I really was happy that I was able to play just because of how much fun I had. Astro Bot is one of the best platformers that Sony has released in a long ass time, and honestly a really good platformer in general. Like, you know, it's been released since, you know, probably Mario, you know, the most recent Mario game. And Astro Bot was just tons of fun. It just oozes charisma and charm, and it is a game that, you know, will just have you feeling like a kid again. And also being able to rescue all the Astrobots and seeing all the references from, you know, previous PlayStation titles and other third-party titles as well that made an impact on PlayStation's platform. It was so cool to see that. Like, I remember seeing Crash Bandicoot. I remember seeing, what is it? Oh my gosh, how could I forget? But I remember seeing characters like from the Uncharted series, God of War, The Last of Us, and from titles that were so obscure that I don't even remember and stuff like that. Oh, also, Parappa the Rapper. I do remember that one. I think that was the one that I was thinking of. Yes, that was the one that I was thinking of. But, you know, seeing those characters and seeing, you know, just getting nostalgia from seeing those characters again and seeing, you know, levels that were dedicated to Sony titles was super cool. And I loved how there are, you know, there's the normal platforming portion of the game that anybody can play, anybody can pick up. I remember playing this game with Siz's nephew, and he absolutely loved it. I remember every time he'd come over and stuff, he'd be like, hey, can we play the little space robot game? And I was so happy to tell him, yeah, of course, let's go, because I love playing it myself, and I love showing him how to play the game. And anytime he got into like a problem or he got stuck somewhere, he'd immediately hand me the controller and be like, can you help me? And I was like, of course, I will absolutely help you. So it was just so much fun. And then if you want to like have some challenge into your platforming, it has like the really hard platform challenges that you can get, like, you know, specific and like special Astrobots and stuff. That was so much fun. And I haven't even gone and tried the time challenge portion of the game, but I would absolutely need to go back and play those challenges. But all of that just made it such a great and like fun experience to play. So that is something that I was really happy to, you know, experience. And I'm honestly really glad that it won Game of the Year at the Game Awards. It is a game that really deserved it. But yeah, so Astro Bot, number 2 pick. So before we get to my number 1 pick, I actually want to go through some honorable mentions. So these are definitely titles that probably could have ranked in my top 10, but I just wanted to shorten it down to a top 5 instead, because I feel like it would have taken forever at that point. But for my honorable mentions that I have 3 games that I really wanted to highlight. My first game is Warhammer 40k. Warhammer 40k was a game that I was super interested in the material. Like, I've never really gotten interested in the Warhammer franchise and stuff. But I remember seeing the trailer for it and immediately was like, yo, this looks dope. You know, fighting, I believe, the Tyranids. I keep getting them mixed up between the Terminids and the Tyranids, you know, because they sound very similar from the Helldivers 2 enemies. But I remember seeing the trailer with all those Tyranids just like crawling up the walls and like just being super insane, like the set pieces and stuff like that from the trailers. And I was like, yo, this is a game that I definitely want to sit down and play. And I loved the gameplay of it. The gameplay is really fucking good. It is something that is really reminiscent of an old Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 era type of game. And that was something that I absolutely loved. The story left a little bit to be desired, but it was still pretty good. What really was the main meat and potatoes for this game was absolutely the co-op, and surprisingly enough, the multiplayer. The 6v6 multiplayer is something absolutely ripped from like the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 era, but it is so good, and I was so happy to sink some hours into that multiplayer, and I keep going back and forth with that multiplayer for sure. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight Warhammer. Another honorable mention that I have is Black Myth Wukong. Black Myth Wukong is essentially a Souls-like type of game, but not really. It's very heavy on the bosses. It's essentially just a boss rush type of game, which is great. I love fighting all of the multiple different bosses that Black Myth had. You know, you thought that there was going to be just like one special type of boss, and then, you know, kind of a repetitive amount of bosses and stuff like that. But no, it really goes stupid crazy with all the amount of bosses that that game has and that are unique. But Black Myth Wukong, super cool. I loved seeing a Chinese developer really go crazy with Journey to the West, because we had also obviously seen some Western developers have a crack at Journey to the West type of games, but it was really cool to see a Chinese developer really go crazy with that, and I think they did a fantastic job. Like the set pieces, the cool lore behind enemies, and like just, you know, how much it's oozing with like Chinese, you know, just inspiration from China and Journey to the West and stuff. I thought that was super dope, something that we'd never seen before. And I think this game honestly really helps with putting Chinese developers on the map when it comes to AAA development, because so many people played this game, and you know, I understand why people put this game on, you know, their number one list for top 5 games of 2024 or top 10 games of 2024. You know, this was a lot of people's number one, and I think I understand why, because there's just so much to it that is just super unique, super cool, and the boss rush aspect of it is just super dope and really fun. One thing I will say though is just kind of lacks on the open world aspects of it, and that's why I think, to me, it just really didn't hit as hard, because like all you were doing was just going from one boss to another, and there wasn't really a lot when it came to what you did in between and stuff like that. So that kind of sucked. That kind of lacked a little bit. But, you know, aside from that, it was a really great game. And props to Game Science, because I believe this is like one of their first like full AAA games that you know, and that made a big splash. So absolutely, this game is dope. And then my last honorable mention that I'd like to talk about is Animal Well. Animal Well keeps the trend going of, you know, just one indie developer going like crazy with their idea. And this guy, Billy Basso, he did something really dope with this game. This game is essentially a Metroidvania type of game, and this game lets you really explore and solve puzzles on your own accord. And you got to do a lot of exploring and just going into the deep end without having any knowledge of what's going to happen or anything like that within levels or within sections of the game. You just got to go head first and see what's up. And I love the atmosphere of that game. It had this very eerie vibe to it, but at the same time, you're just really curious to see like some of these animals out here. They're like, are they gonna attack me? Are they gonna do nothing? Are they gonna help me? That type of vibe to it. And I just love the eerie aspect of it as well, where I just loved how like parts it's just really quiet, it's really silent, and you're just like, what the fuck is going on? This is way too silent for comfort type of shit. But other moments, you have a little bit of music and to fill in the air, and it's really nice. It's so good. It's such a great game, and the fact that this was all developed by one person, like the same as Balatro, was something super commendable. And I'm really looking forward to see what Billy Basso has in store for us with his next game. So those were my honorable mentions, and I want to now finish off with my number one pick of 2024. So my number one pick for 2024, top 5 games of 2024, is Silent Hill 2 Remake. Silent Hill 2 Remake is something super, super special. I never played the original Silent Hill 2 game just because I was still pretty young when that game came out, and also I was a wimp when it came to horror games. I've only recently become more invested into horror games, and still there are some horror games that absolutely I am not fucking with, like especially Resident Evil 7. You will never catch me playing that fucking game because that game absolutely looks fucking scary as hell, and nothing will ever make me do that.
That's my guess right there. I'm gonna walk up, she's gonna pop up in this window right here, and I'm ready for it. Watch this.
So yeah, I don't know, maybe we'll do it on stream one day or something like that. We'll see. But Silent Hill 2 is Silent Hill 2 Remake is super, super special. I have really gotten more invested into playing the games that are similar to like Resident Evil 4, Dead Space Remake, Callisto Protocol. Even though that wasn't really a great game, it still very much is in the same vein. And Silent Hill 2 was something that I was looking forward to, and well, I shouldn't say I was looking forward to myself. In this conversation, I think a lot of people were very skeptical about what Blooper Team was going to be doing with this game, because Blooper Team doesn't really have the best and amazing track record when it comes to developing games. And, you know, a lot of people were nervous that this remake was just going to, you know, hold back. It was just going to pull its punches, and it wasn't going to be as gritty or as hard-hitting as the original. And so a lot of people were really nervous, and myself included. I remember seeing those trailers and I was like, this game looks like it still needs some time in the oven. But then it came out, and Blooper Team literally just like proved all the haters wrong, myself included. And I sat down and I started playing it, and I played it on stream, which I will be continuing to play on stream. I just haven't gotten around to it. But I remember first hopping in and really getting invested into this game, you know, just playing through the story for the first time. And it explored some topics that I was not expecting to really be exploring, or was really expecting, or have really seen a game explore as well as Silent Hill 2 did. You know, there's a lot of dark topics that are mentioned and are really highlighted with its characters, with James, with Angela, with Eddie, and it's stuff that I think really, like I said, it's not really talked about as much in video games. And so there's a fine line between, you know, making a video game that has these topics that is good and makes it to where it's not being disrespectful towards people that have obviously experienced something like this, but, you know, because it doesn't go like super crazy with it either. And it just makes it to where you really get to see a lot of these characters' mentality and what brought them to Silent Hill. James, that is one of the best performances from a voice actor, and I think the guy who did the voice acting also did the motion capture for James in general. So this dude's acting was crazy. Like, James has moments where you can subtly tell that, you know, there's something wrong, or there's something odd, or maybe he's not telling us the full like, you know, he's not giving us a full explanation about what's actually happening and stuff. And, you know, with the performance from the actor, I don't know what his name is, but the actor that gives that performance does such a great job with James that even the subtle, like, tiny bit of like facial or movement, like expressions and stuff like that, you're like, oh, James isn't telling us something. Like, he's not being fully transparent with us as, you know, the viewer or as the player. And then we get to like Angela and Eddie. Angela, man, she has a very tragic backstory, or just story in general, and the way that they talk about it and they explore it is like super well done. Eddie, a fucking like monster essentially. That guy, he's gone through a lot, like, and he does, you know, some crazy shit. He's like basically going crazy while we're in Silent Hill, but you get to see what led him to become the person that he is when we meet him in Silent Hill. And I think it does a great job of really exploring that and exploring his mentality and his psyche as well. And overall, it is a story that was done justice by Blooper Team. And that is something that Blooper Teams should 100% be commended for, is the story does not hold back. It is 100% gritty as the original, and it does a great job of really highlighting that story through the actors' performances and and just with the background. And one thing I will say that apparently got a really big step up that I didn't know about was the combat. The combat I absolutely I really enjoyed with the combat. But one thing I will say is that there's a lack of variety of characters or of enemies in that game, and you know, I understand why, based off of like, you know, the story and stuff like that. But I would have really liked to see some more enemies within this game. There is one new inclusion. I think it's like the spider enemies that you get that you see around the prison area, but aside from that, it's basically the same handful of, you know, enemies that you'll encounter while you're exploring Silent Hill. But the bosses are dope as fuck. It is absolutely crazy to see the design for, what is it, Abstract Daddy, when you're fighting with that, and you really get to see what the fuck is happening on Angela's side and why she's here in Silent Hill 2. That shit is crazy. But yeah, the bosses are dope as fuck. And yeah, the characters are amazing as well. The story, the performances that they give, the story that is told within this game is just something that I cannot, just stop gushing about. It is truly something special, and I highly recommend playing this game. And if you're not a horror fan, I understand. Maybe just watch a YouTube video of someone playing it, or you can watch a stream of someone playing it, like me. But it is a story that I think everybody should, or not everybody, but I think a lot of people would be really intrigued to see, and I think it's done masterfully. So Silent Hill 2 is my number 1 pick for 2024. Let me know what your picks are for 2024. At this point, we're already about to start getting some bangers in 2025. Yo boy is already putting in hours in Marvel Rivals. So if y'all want to play against me in Marvel Rivals or in a team and stuff like that, let me know. But I'm really excited to see what 2025 has in store for us for video games. Looks like there's going to be a lot of great games dropping. I believe Doom: The Dark Age is coming out this year. Metal Gear Solid Delta is coming out this year. Avowed, even though I know a lot of people aren't, super interested in Avowed, I think it looks like it's going to be a great game. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 looks like it's going to be a great game. There's a lot of great games that are going to be coming out, and I'm really looking forward to see what ends up coming out this year. And on top of that, we just got the day that I'm recording this, we just got the announcement that the Switch 2 is coming out. So the Switch 2 is on the horizon, and I know that Nintendo has some shit up their sleeves, so I can't wait to see that. But overall, I think 2024 was a great year for video games, and I am looking forward to see what 2025 has in store for us. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe to this video, to my channel. Subscribe to my channel and like the video. But yeah, and I really am looking forward to making some more videos in 2025. We'll see if it's more video game heavy. I do want to focus on some other stuff, like maybe music stuff, just because I have a passion for all that stuff as well. But I'll definitely be putting up some video game related content on this channel as well. So stay tuned for that. But anyways, I hope you have a great day, and I will see you guys on the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.